Aloha and welcome to Trust and Verify, the show that if we didn't have tech issues, it would be a miracle. Joined me tonight, I want to give you guys the special heads up. You can look at the label. We are not going to do a traditional show tonight. Tonight it is the entire show from start to finish. This is the hammering. But before we can hammer anything, I got to introduce my friend, my partner, my co-host, Boogie Bumper. Boogie, how's it going, brother?
Good, James. Good to be with you. Just warming up my shoulder. Warming up that hammering arm, James. Got to loosen up because it's going to be from go to woe. Thanks, everyone, for joining us in the chat. If you can share it out, please do. You can also catch the show on stream.me and tavshow.com. James, I almost called you Greeno then. And then don't forget to check the podcast, which you can get on iTunes. But I'm really looking forward to digging into some of these freakouts. It's going to be absolutely immense. Can't wait.
Can't wait to get to it, folks. We're going to take a break, and we will be right back.
Do you like pondering life's big questions? Is there a God? What is the meaning of life? How would one do an hour-long sports show without ever actually talking about sports? If yes, we can help you answer 33% of these pressing questions. All you have to do is check out Starting Block on tavshow.com, Periscope, Stream.me, or YouTube Wednesday mornings at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also download the podcast on iTunes just by searching for Starting Block in the store or at thestartingblock.podbean.com. Or if you're really desperate for answers, why not check us out on Twitter at The Starting Block. No K, and don't forget to drop that K. Enlightenment is now only a click away.
Now that is a freaking awesome commercial.
Aloha and welcome back. I think it is time to get jumping. Let's get right to it. Boogie, what you got for us?
Well, just so we're not accused of only talking about the Brett Kavanaugh thing, because this is what I was thinking. We got our man, right? Like, he's in. The Republicans won, okay?
Right.
And I think, now it might be a good time to, just draw an underline underneath the whole saga and, put a full stop at the end of it. And then you can refocus and move on to the midterms, because you can be guaranteed that the Democrats are definitely going to be looking for ways to carry this through. So just before we do underline the whole Brett Kavanaugh thing, though, I had to mention this article from HuffPo, James. Melania Trump's colonialist outfit during Africa trip has Twitter users gagging. We wouldn't want to upset the Twitter users, would we? Honeybee 33 and Long John 44 and the rest of the quirky gang on Twitter. We wouldn't want to upset him.
I
was
think
bad
that's
enough
hilarious.
that Melania. It was bad enough that Melania Trump. Look, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in my echo chamber on my side of the Twitter, in my little neighborhood, we were all saying like, "Wow, she looks awesome! How glamorous!" Yeah, apparently, the lefties hated it.
That's a bigoted attitude, James. She's literally trying to colonize Africa. A one man queen of Africa. It was bad enough that Melania Trump lamented the slaughter of African elephants, even though her stepsons hunt them, and her husband's administration made it possible to import elephant trophies into America again. But observers were further taken aback by the tone-deaf outfit the First Lady wore in Kenya. She donned a startling symbol of colonial rule, James. A white pith helmet, once preferred by Europeans in African colonies and elsewhere. Here's a great comment here. It's like showing up to a meeting of African-American cotton farmers in a Confederate uniform. There you go. It's just like that. It's just like that. Just like that. Wow. All right, let's go to Brett Kavanaugh. Now, I want to kick it off on a positive note for the liberal press, James, the corporate media. This is quite possibly the most accurate headline that Vox and just about anyone else on the other side of the aisle has ever produced. Check this out. Republicans don't care what you think. Bravo!
Bravo.
Real news. We have real news. Republicans lost the argument, but ultimately they had the votes. 49 Senate Republicans, James, and 1 Democrat just confirmed Brett Kavanaugh to the United States Supreme Court. No allegations, no protesters, and no public opinion polls showing Brett Kavanaugh is the most unpopular person to be elevated to the nation's highest court in recent history was going to stop them. To the senators who confirmed him, it did not matter what that Christine Blasey Ford testified for 4 hours under oath and told the Senate Judiciary Committee that she was 100% certain that Brett Kavanaugh was the boy who pulled her into a room at a high school party 36 years ago and tried to force himself on her. It did not matter that Kavanaugh appeared to, at best, mislead senators in his own testimony. It did not matter that, unlike Clarence Thomas, who also faced allegations of sexual misconduct, the public thought Kavanaugh's accuser was more credible than he was. Senator Lisa Murkowski framed the Senate's decision simply days before the final vote. It's about whether or not a woman who has been a victim at some point in her life is to be believed. I don't think it's about that at all. Like, was that like any woman? It's about whether a woman who has been a victim should be believed. That I don't think that was on the voting record. Do you remember that being mentioned at any time?
I don't remember that.
Funny that. So how could the senator get it so wrong? Like, didn't she get a memo at some point? Like, you do know why you're voting today, don't you, Lisa? The Senate has answered definitively. We do not believe her. Not really, and we don't care that the public does. Look at this. Republicans don't care if their nominee is unpopular. Remember how unpopular Donald Trump was? Is, James. Still is, right? The most unpopular president ever. It's amazing. Republicans don't care.
I love how they're writing this public narrative that the public doesn't care.
Yes.
In the face of their own polling data, their own slanted media spin bias just announced he has 52% approval rating. That on its own says you guys are full of crap. Even if you don't look at the little videos where they have these like really tight panning shots where they're doing like this. Like, look how busy it is. Yeah, there's like 20 people there, okay? The rest of you all have cameras. Anyone with a camera is not a protester. You can't count that in the body count.
You know what, this, like articles like this, you know what it says to me? That they're amazed that after the decades of being able to whip Republicans into a kind of learned helplessness where they just apologize for their own existence, suddenly it's not working in them anymore. And they're like, oh my God, what is going on? What is these heartless Republicans? See, I told you they don't care, right? Look, Republicans are fine pushing past the backlash. Look at health. Yes, they are fine pushing past the backlash now. Because you know what the backlash looks like, James? Let me show you a bit of the backlash. Where's our clip here? Okay, we don't have that one. Let me jump to the other clip that I've got here. Let me show you a bit of backlash. Here's your backlash. Has got to go. Hey.
Look at this.
These are live.
They're literally scratching on the doors of the Supreme Court like a cat does when it's trying to get back in at the end of the night. Ah, let us in! I'm amazed that nobody cares anymore. Aren't you?
It's hilarious. I absolutely love it. It's amazing to me.
Here's another one, James. The only thing certain in politics is that Republicans will cut taxes and confirm judges. The other major thing on the Republicans' agenda when they took power was cutting the corporate tax rate. Unlike healthcare, Republicans care a lot about cutting taxes. Tax cuts are the most unifying policy within the Republican Party, and preserving a conservative-leaning judiciary isn't far behind. Conservatives wanted Kavanaugh, they got him. That's all that mattered, James. Even though all of the accusations, it wasn't enough. See, I tend to think, I think we're at a point now where this was like punching through this wall of outrage. I think the Democrats went all in on this one. They went all in. They pushed all the chips into the middle, and you just had to hold your nerve and call, right? You couldn't fold this time. And this might be what breaks their back. Like, we might have hit critical mass now. Because if this does spark the kind of outrage that we're expecting, I think it can only get worse. It can only go further downhill, right?
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I think that they have reached, I think we I want to say it this way. I think we have reached critical mass. We finally got through the barriers of ridiculousness that they've been spouting forever. And the only reason we were able to do that is because we finally were able to prove through the tax cuts that we were right. And the left went so far crazy, batshit nuts, that they gave those people, the middle of America, a reason to actually look at what we were doing and saying. And then once the proof is in your pocket, once you understand that we haven't been lying to you, your entire life, you've paid every single tax. There's no such thing as taxing a business that isn't passed on to its consumer. That doesn't exist. That is a utopia fantasy land that just plain doesn't exist. Hey, Boogie, I'm going to kick this right back to you, but I wanted to say real quick, do you want to go out with that clip that you were playing in my ears on the way out this time?
Sure. The theme of tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after the break.
This is a moment in history that will look back that either the Republican Party became dominant for a generation or the Republican Party died. I'm telling you, it is that serious. For those of you who are saying it must be perfect, it must be, I will look at you. If they don't get this done because it must be work, I will look at you in 2018 when we lose, and I will put my finger at you and I say, this is on you. You did this. We had a chance to MAGA. We had a chance to win America back. We had a chance to support our President Donald Trump, and you stood against him. You stood with the Democrats, and you made us lose, and you destroyed this country. And you can go to hell as far as I'm concerned.
I love it. Aloha. Welcome back to the Freakout episode where we're going to hammer the left from start to finish. I love it. That was an excellent choice there, Boogie. What do we got on tap?
We've got Nana Nancy explaining to everyone in full view, James. You know how they always criticize Donald Trump? Oh my God, he's being a tyrant in full view of everyone. I guess they thought they better hook on to the back of this trend and do a little bit of tyranting themselves. Let's check out Nana Nancy.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest.
Yeah.
And then you merchandise it. And then you write it. And they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear. Yeah. And then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear.
Oh, so we're going to merchandise the press's report. I'm looking forward to the T-shirt, James. I was sexually assaulted by Brett Kavanaugh, and all I got was this stupid T-shirt. I think that'll be a fun one. Merchandising the press report. Any surprises you got out of that from what Nancy Pelosi had to say?
No surprises to me, but I'm loving it. Like I'm so happy. Like, excuse me, but this is the part. All right, we're gonna go a little bit different than we normally go on the Trust and Verify show, and I'm gonna go full on, James, and say, listen, this is why I've been telling everybody on my own scopes, this scopes, everybody's scopes, is that what I valued out of the Q movement was their ability to get people engaged, to teach people how to do their own thing, think for themselves, where to look, how to research, and what to find. This Q movement has allowed a clip like that to reach the entire world. That's the thing right here. This is what is allowed that to happen, because in the past, we all sitting here, everybody on the scope that's a conservative knows, that kind of stuff would have been buried, lost, forgotten. It would have gotten no traction. If you look around the internet, you can look around Twitter, you can look at Reddit, you can look at Facebook, you can look everywhere. That clip is across the entire planet, and everybody finally got to hear more lefties exposing the fact that we've been telling you the truth. They've been lying to you. They smear you with false accusations, merchandise it, get the press to write about it, all to corrupt your government. And they're admitting it on tape. That's not the crazy thing. The crazy thing is the whole world has now seen it.
Well, it's already time to move on, James, because now that that strategy has been exposed, we have to move on to Plan B. Plan B. How Liberals could declare war on Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court. His confirmation might pave the way for a full-blown constitutional crisis, James. Yes, looking forward to that one. By all indications, Brett Kavanaugh is about to be confirmed to the Supreme Court, where he will become part of a 5-justice conservative bloc that will swiftly roll back decades of progressive jurisprudence. Hasn't the complaint long been that the progressives, because they know that their policies are so ghastly that nobody would vote for them if they actually had to present it as a platform in an election, hasn't the criticism always been, James, that they like to legislate from the bench? Have you heard that term?
Oh, absolutely.
So they'll use the courts, right, to push their rules through in other ways. But that's now just referred to as progressive jurisprudence. Isn't that creative? His confirmation will be a major victory for the Republican Party and its leader, Donald Trump, who will soon succeed in entrenching GOP control over the court for at least a generation. Remember the call sign, Republicans don't care what you think. But as soon as Kavanaugh takes the oath, he will plunge the Supreme Court into a legitimacy crisis that could weaken its power over the long term. Now you see, James, the Democrats are just opposed to Brett Kavanaugh because they want to protect the image of the Supreme Court. Isn't that cute? No, this is horrible. Nobody will believe what the Supreme Court says anymore. We can't have that because of this guy. Remember, they orchestrated, what was it, the wraparound smear?
Yeah, the wrap-up smear. This crisis will become particularly acute if Democrats retake Congress and the presidency, but find their reforms stymied by a, get this, James, reactionary judiciary. Oh, yes, you know those reactionaries that interpret the Constitution as it was written? How reactionary of them. It's nearly a 300-year reaction by now. The broad consensus over the court's authority to interpret the Constitution will crumble, James. Yes, because there's been consensus. See, when the progressives are in power and the court is ruling in their favor, everyone agrees, you see. Everyone. There's broad consensus about the authority of the court. Now that it's gone against them, nobody's going to believe the court anymore. If that all comes to pass, Kavanaugh's appointment may come to be seen as a Pyrrhic victory, not just for Trump, James, but the entire conservative movement. See, this is actually a loss long-term for you guys. I hope you know that. I bet you didn't know that. What HS? Yeah, here's the thing I have to say about this is that this is about the language. This is about the culture. We've been telling you that forever, and this is more proof of evidence of that. Is that, listen, we have to take back the language. We have to. The whole idea of a conservative, that's me, is to conserve the Constitution and the constitutional means to living in America. We're not opposed to changing with society. We're opposed to changing with society by using things you shouldn't be allowed to use. In other words, going against the Constitution. Right? The only way you change the Constitution is to amend the Constitution. So if you, we just had a bleep there. If you don't like the way the First Amendment's written, you have to propose and win a constitutional amendment to change it. You don't get to create hate speech laws. Pure and simple, bottom line, that is exactly what we are saying as conservatives. We're not even necessarily as conservatives saying that we don't agree with you. We're saying you do not get to write a hate speech law when it's clearly against the First Amendment and the principles of the First Amendment without a constitutional amendment. That's what they can't stand. This is why they come after us. And this is why language is important. They've been able to somehow convince enough people long enough that being on the quote-unquote right, that being a conservative is somehow just a political position, that somehow that their way of thinking of a living, breathing document of the Constitution is the right way. No, it's not. The Constitution is written in stone. until you do a constitutional amendment. So your living, breathing document requires you to do a constitutional amendment. See, that's the difference. That's exactly what it is. This is why we need shows like this to explain those differences, but in a way that people can understand it. That we're not necessarily even saying we disagree with you. We're just saying you can't do it because the Constitution guarantees you can't.
I like this, James, because this is an inversion of reality here. Listen to this. No matter how courteously Kavanaugh behaves on the court, many Democrats will always see him as the man who blamed friends of the Clintons for trying to thwart his confirmation. It might not matter so much at first, so long as Republicans maintain their grasp on power, they can enforce the court's decisions through legislation, executive orders, and if necessary, the National Guard. But what happens when Democrats take back the legislative and executive branches? What if Democrats pass Medicare for all and the Supreme Court strikes it down, with Kavanaugh casting the decisive fifth vote? It's not hard to envision Democrats marching in the streets. Aren't they already? What, we're going to have to wait. So they're saying, oh, the Democrats, what if the Democrats retake the presidency, retake the Congress, and retake the Senate, and then the Supreme Court strikes down their rule changes? Oh, it's not hard to see them marching in the street. I know it's not hard to see them marching in the street because that's what they've been doing every day. They've been doing it every day for 2 years. What's different here? See, they're trying to act like, oh, this appointment is the reason that you're going to see Democrat rage. Right? This is the reason that the Democrats aren't going to trust what comes out of the Supreme Court. Too bad. Too bad. You're going to have to. Like, you don't get a choice. You don't get a choice to follow some rules and not follow other ones. Again, Republicans no longer care what you think. It's just, it's tough luck. It's tough luck. Listen to this. What can the Supreme Court do? Send its tiny police force to storm the White House? Right? No matter the end result of liberal defiance, James, it will likely transform the Supreme Court's legitimacy crisis into a full-blown constitutional crisis. See, because they're saying it's illegitimate, they're giving a green light for people to not follow it. They're saying, it's okay, you don't have to go along with what the Supreme Court's saying anymore. It's illegitimate. I mean, the guy was accused of sexual assault, and he's a conservative. You don't have to listen to that. Like, what are they going to do? Send their tiny little police force to the White House? I don't think so. Time to get out in the streets, right?
Yeah. These people are insane, and they're proving it, and I love it. Like, I don't understand why they don't understand how life really works. It's like this is the problem that we ceded to them, the education. This is why Betsy DeVos is crucial to us. We need the changes go to our educational department immediately. In fact, in some ways, I think that Donald Trump's plan ultimately is to completely get rid of the Board of Education. I think that that's literally his plan long term. I mean, the Department of Education is to have her instigate changes, fixes, institute them, and then get out of the game, because it's destroyed our country. These people have literally destroyed our country because they've been able to dominate all of the states through the education. When we had it in the 70s, 60s, 50s, okay, each state, each county had their own school districts. They had their own teaching. They had control, actually, because they didn't have to go suck on the federal government's teat for the funding. All of the funding came from local. And so they managed to use this basically an entitlement mentality to get all the money to go to the federal government and then get redistributed back in this, redistribution process that's socialist all the way around to control funding for all of the school districts, which is allowing them to control whether or not the kids learn the right things, whether they understand life, how life is supposed to be. The Supreme Court does not have a police force for a reason. They are not there to prevent things from happening. Literally, the Supreme Court is a reactionary force. That's right.
Right-wing dictatorship, tyrants, police state,
Yeah, exactly. Like, these people just don't get it. Like, they're there to release people. In fact, this is the funniest thing the left just seems to not understand. Donald Trump can arrest everybody in the country. Everybody. He can do whatever he wants, and he can arrest them. And there is no law to stop him. There's only the Supreme Court there to release them from prison and say, sorry, that's against the Constitution, you can't do it, and then let them out. And then they can arrest them again, and then they let them out. Then you can arrest them again, and then they let them out. That's literally all the Supreme Court's power is. You know who has the power here? Idiots. To change the law is Congress. Congress changes and writes the law. All they have to do is write a law that's actually freaking constitutional. That'll pass constitutional muster. And that is then left up to the executive to what? Enforce the law. That's literally the game. It's the whole game. And these guys just don't understand it.
Yeah, Donald Trump can arrest everyone in the country now thanks to bigots like you, James. Good on you, mate. Thanks, mate. Thanks for that. You don't even believe survivors. You're a horrible human being. Maybe the Democrats. I don't even know what our timer's up to. I can't see it. So.
Oh, yeah, we're out of time. Folks, we're going to go ahead and take a break. We just can't shut up tonight. We'll be right back.
Friend and foe alike, join me, Rod Prasad, every week on the Common Discourse Weekly Roundup podcast. You can follow the show on @TCD Tweet on Twitter and Periscope. Subscribe to the show on YouTube, Stream.me, iTunes, or your preferred podcast platform. If you like what you hear, or you would like to express your raging discontent, please consider leaving us a review. The Common Discourse, independent political opinion, thought, and analysis for the people, by the people.
Aloha and welcome back. I am sorry we are not really following our timers very well tonight. Why? Because we said up front, this entire episode is the hammering. We do not intend to let up. We intend to have fun and laugh the entire time. So we're just dedicated the entire episode as hammering the left. What we got next, Boog?
Well, maybe the Democrats just didn't want it enough, James. Maybe they weren't fearsome enough. Look at this. Democrats fear they're the wet rag party. Kavanaugh's victory leaves many on the left saying it's time to get mad and even, because up until now they've been really calm. They've been really calm and chill, and they haven't been upset at all up until now. Al Franken is a long-time liberal warrior, James, accused of predatory sexual behavior, who is now licking his wounds in exile. Wasn't there video evidence of that, though? Wasn't there a picture floating around about this sexual behavior? I mean, if you could go back to whenever it was, 1982, and get a Polaroid of this alleged event, I'm sure, you know, the result would be the same. But picture evidence versus no evidence, it doesn't matter anymore. We're in a post-truth era. Remember that. Brett Kavanaugh is a long-time conservative warrior, James, accused of predatory sexual behavior, who is now licking his wounds on the United States Supreme Court. Yep. He only got there because he's a Republican. Remember, Republicans don't care what you think anymore. So it's okay. You're allowed to just say, yep, sexual predator on the Supreme Court. Too bad. What are you going to do about it? Protest? Seen a lot of them. Seen more. Bring them more. More protests. Listen to this. The president's gleeful taunts of Franken as a quitter at a campaign rally in Minnesota on Thursday night, he folded like, quote, a wet rag, Trump cackled, were for Democrats a wicked preface to their ash-in-mouth defeat this weekend in the Kavanaugh nomination fight. Whether Trump knew it or not, his remarks were perfectly pitched to stoke anxieties that have haunted many top Democratic operatives for a generation. What's that? What's this anxiety that the Democrats apparently have, James? Believe it or not? The fear that their party loses big power struggles because the Republicans are simply tougher, meaner, more cynical, and more ruthless than they are. Yes, those wilting snowflakes, Jays. Oh, they just have so much damn empathy, right? And it brings them down because they're just so humanitarian and so empathetic. They care so much. I think it's amazing. Here we are, like it's like the previous week hasn't happened. The viciousness that they went after this guy with. They accused it. ladies and gentlemen, you have to remember, they spent 2 weeks in the media spreading people around like Michael Avenatti, accusing this guy of being a gang rapist who drugs women. And now they've got the audacity to come out and say, yeah, you know what the problem is? We're just too darn nice. I can't believe it. Look at this. Salon, did Democrats do enough to stop Kavanaugh? Not even close. And don't expect more from a, quote, blue wave. Yes, Democrats are preferable to this, but they're still spineless. And they melted before Kavanaugh's white rage, James. You know the white rage? Different to any other kind of rage, I've heard. Although I'll vote for any Democrat in November to keep Donald Trump's Republican vassals from finishing off the American Republic at his bidding, yes, Dictator Trump. Dictator Trump. What I saw in the performance of most Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee last week reminded me that any victory by that terminally pusillanimous, corrupt, supperding party, which is only a zombie, if not a corpse, of our democratic hopes, isn't likely to stop what's coming at any of us more than a speed bump will stop a tank. At least they're finally realizing where they're at now. I like that.
I agree. But I think it's hilarious that these pseudo-intellectuals that write shit like this don't even realize by using the term vassal, which implies vassalage, they're actually implying mental imagery of him being a king. So you're literally applying royalty to Donald Trump while you think that you're tearing him down, because you would not use the term vassal in any other form other than in a royal sense. So I think it's great. They can't even write their shit right.
It's not even an insult. It's not even an insult. We already call him the God Emperor. King is a step down.
If he called me, I'd say, what can I do for you, my liege?
He's acting like a king. I would say just a king. Isn't he the supreme ruler of the universe? You know,
that's right.
Like, show some respect, lefty. What's different now is the danger of Trumpism, James, and the hollowness of Democrats have been more fully exposed. While we can hope that the latter will grow spines in some upcoming congressional outcomes, it'll take a lot more to stop the creeping coup d'etat against the Republic by Trump and his backers than it would have taken in 2016. Now Trump is the one performing a coup to take over the government.
Yes.
Now Trump is the usurper of the throne, James. Do you believe it? Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, these guys are insane. Like, look, they think that they're right. They think that they are the ones that determine what, the direction of the country. It was just fine, exactly perfect, if it weren't for us crazy racists that aren't even white, that, hate the government. Like, that's like this narrative that they don't even, they're going to wake up to it after November. They are. There's no way. The meltdowns are going to be extreme when they see the numbers that roll in, I think. That's my opinion. I mean, I'm not trying to be cocky or confident or overconfident. I live in a world that I can't imagine you can watch the behavior of the left and wake up and say, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for that. Yeah, I want more of that. I don't live in that world. I live in the opposite world. Maybe that's why they created that Superman Bizarro world. Because in my world, I look at crazy people like that and I say, holy shit, I better go vote the complete opposite of that before we lose everything for our kids, our grandkids, our future.
James, I think I might do a podcast on this during the week, but I think this is probably the worst strategic play that the Democrats have ever done. From what I can gather, like they've done what Trump couldn't do. They've actually got the never Trumpers on board. They've united the Republican Party. Yep. The Republicans haven't been a united force since Reagan, right? Because it's based on individual liberty and free thinking. So of course there's going to be big disagreements between conservatives, libertarians, even like classical liberals are now thrown into the mix as well. So there's all kinds of different viewpoints and different platforms that are always competing with each other. Look at the Freedom Caucus, for example, how different they are from like the old school establishment Republicans. They've actually put everybody on the same team. I was reading a National Review article, James, and the author, who has been a massive never Trumper since day one, came out and said this whole affair legitimizes Trump's tactics. Like, now I get it. He gets it. National Review printed a whole edition about why everyone needs to oppose Donald Trump. This is a right-wing publication. Yeah. They're now on board. So if I was the Democrats, they're usually tremendously good at wedging the people on the right because of what I stated earlier, that predisposition to individual thought. But now everyone's on the Trump train now. Everyone.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
It's going to be tough for them in the midterms.
Yeah, absolutely. They've united not only the right, they've united the center. And that's the major key there, is that they've moved 60% of the country in our direction. Like they're going to wake up to a new reality on November 7th. That's what I am hopeful for, is that the middle of the country actually finally realizes that no, the left has been lying to you for so long. This has never been left-right. This has always been Constitution. It's because that's what's uniting us, is all of our rights. We've watched them be degraded over such a period of time. Like I was just talking about and highlighting, the hate speech laws, it's unconstitutional. And the fact that it hasn't been found unconstitutional is ridiculous to me. And it's because our government was being led by people that wanted it to exist because it gave them more power. We finally have the leader at the very top saying, we're returning the power back to the people. Folks, we're going to cut out a little bit early so we can end this entire episode as a length on time. And then we're going to come back and we're going to have bonus time. And the bonus time is going to just basically go until Boogie's tired of talking and we run out of articles and we run out of videos. But I did want to say that thank you to everybody that showed up tonight. We had a great time. We have you on Periscope. We have you on Streamy. We have you on YouTube. We are multi-streaming, which we normally don't do. So all of you on Periscope, you're getting a bonus tonight. Normally, we do not ever live stream on Periscope. We normally only cover Streamy and YouTube, and then we do a restream later in the week on Periscope. But tonight, we're coming to you live, all 3 channels. Thanks for being here. Boogie, any final words?
No, let's rock and roll. We've got way more to get to. Way more.
Aloha, everybody. Thanks for joining. Stick around. We'll be right back. Aloha and welcome back. We are now into bonus time. Ignore the timers. The timers don't matter anymore. We're just going to keep talking and keep plowing through whatever we find, whatever we come up with. Boogie, what you got next in the pile? Whoops, shit. I'm doing this wrong. Sorry.
I don't have shit in the pile. Oh, wait. Let me redress that. Maybe I do. This is Hillary Clinton back in 2016, James, in the 3rd presidential debate. Just a little refresher, a little reminder of what the Democrats thought the role of the Supreme Court was back then during the campaign. Let's go.
I have major disagreements with my opponent about really raises the central issue in this election, namely, what kind of country are we going to be? What kind of opportunities will we provide for our citizens? What kind of rights will Americans have? And I feel strongly that the Supreme Court needs to stand on the side of the American people, not on the side of the powerful.
That's nice sounding nonsense
and
there.
The wealthy. For me, that means that we need a Supreme Court that will stand up on behalf of women's rights, on behalf of the rights of the LGBT community, that will stand up and say no to Citizens United, a decision that has undermined the election system in our country because of the way it permits dark, unaccountable money to come into our electoral system. I have major disagreements with my opponent about these issues and others that will be before the Supreme Court. But I feel that at this point in our country's history, it is important that we not reverse marriage equality, that we not reverse Roe v. Wade, that we stand up against
this has been the narrative
United.
For a long time.
We stand up for the rights of people in the workplace, that we stand up and basically say the Supreme Court should represent all of us.
What about the rights of workers not to have their union money go to the Democrat Party, James? Oh, congratulations, Supreme Court. Thanks for fixing up the rights of people in the workplace. I just want to point out there, maybe this is why a lot of people voted for Donald Trump back then. The Supreme Court, there's a difference in rhetoric here between conservatives and progressives, and it's evident there. Progressives use activist language, and it's aggressive. It's an aggressive writing tone, if you want to put it that way. So conservatives will say the role of the Supreme Court is to defend the Constitution or something of that nature. Hillary Clinton there exemplifies what I'm talking about by saying the role of the Supreme Court is to stand up for women's rights, stand up for LGBT rights. Okay, that's not the role of the Supreme Court at all, as far as I know. I could be wrong. I mean, I am a foreign devil, but that's not what I understood it to be.
No, she literally wants to go against the 13th Amendment right there in her statement. She says that the Supreme Court's there to stand up for rights of special individuals. Literally, she's creating a special class of citizen in her own mind. This is the left's position. Everybody's special except for those of you that aren't special. And apparently, the most hated class of people is the white male. Somehow, the white male has become like the hunted party in America from the left. Everybody else is in some kind of special protected class. It doesn't make any sense. The 13th Amendment, Dr. Martin Luther King, these people fought, bled, literally died for the principle of define a man by his character. That's it. That's literally the whole game in a nutshell. And that's why the Republicans fight all day long, every day, all over social media over this one simple principle. And it all comes back to, like, literally it's the foundation of the civil rights movement, is literally judge a man by the content of his character. The problem is they're smearing everybody's character with bullshit because we're not lefties. It's just, that's what we're going through. And so I think that you're absolutely right. I said it myself, and my language that I'm even using right now highlights the fact that conservatives talk about standing up for the Constitution. The left talks about these standing up for the rights of the LGBT so that they get those special votes from their special classes of people. Their rhetoric usually is more aggressive than mine. And to be honest with you, this is even something even more so, is that some of my followers have noticed that my rhetoric has ramped up into a much more aggressive nature lately. And you're right. Why? Because I'm a battlefield guy. I'm the guy that is out there fighting nonstop, and I know and understand that this is all about the meme war. This is all about the culture war. This is all about attacking your opponent, not defending. I'm not defending myself against anyone. I don't care about what the left says. In fact, my response to the left is, fuck you. Get out of my way. We're going to save this country. That's the whole point, is that we're even going to save it from you.
Hey, it's in Vox. It must be true. Vox is real news, James. Vox wouldn't lie to us. Look at the headline. Republicans don't care what you think. Fantastic. Now all the people on the left can go about their day knowing that their inane, thoughtless, shallow, drivel comments have absolutely no consequence whatsoever. You are completely and utterly wasting your time. Why do you hate black people? Look, Republicans don't care what you think. Why do you want to reverse abortion? Look, Republicans don't care what you think. It's in Vox. I'll tweet it out if you want. Share it with your friends at dinner parties. Oh, my God, Sally, did you see that Republicans don't care what we think? Oh, my God. It's horrible. Let's get a feminist perspective, James, because unlike the intolerant left who, they think we don't care what they think. I care what you think. I want to know what you think. So I go straight to the right-wing conspiracy websites like The Guardian to find out the feminist view. Quote, I feel outraged, exhausted, and betrayed. Kavanaugh nomination, the feminist response. Who do we go for? Who's the first cab off the rank as a spokesman for the feminist left, James? Linda Sarsour. The incredibly popular Linda Sarsour. Check this out. Here's a quote. This is not just a blow to women. It's about immigration, refugees, the rights of people of color, voting rights, reproductive rights, Native American rights. This disastrous process and conservative judge represents a rollback in time. Like some other parts of the world, for example, where they still stone people to death. It's what the Republicans have wanted for 20 years. Just 20? Today, I am outraged. I am exhausted. I have been in Washington, D.C. for the last month since Kavanaugh's first hearing on September 4, and we have organized protests every day. I feel enraged, disappointed, and betrayed, James. Hell hath no fury like a Linda scorned. Quote, and Donald Trump's conspiracy theories that demonstrators are, quote, paid protesters is exactly the kind of thing fascist governments say, James. There are thousands of women here from all over the country, mothers, teachers, nurses, lawyers, black, white, ordinary women. We have done everything we could. There is a long-standing problem that a majority of white women, James, voted for Donald Trump. She did just say this is about racism, so that's good to know, and have supported Kavanaugh. They put their proximity to power over their own interests, but nothing is irreparable. Women are running for office and protesting in record numbers. And just to back that up, James, from the New York Times, another known right-wing conspiracy website, white women, come get your people. See, you said it was all about attacking the white men. I beg to differ. The men, it hasn't worked out too well attacking the white men because the Republicans keep winning, you see. So we're going to hit their partners instead. They will defend their privilege to the death. Like good comrades, James, you go after the weakest part. Oh, wait, did I say that? They're the ones who think the women are the weakest part. That's why they're going after them. After a confirmation process where women all but slit their wrists, letting their stories of sexual trauma run like rivers of blood through the Capitol, James, the Senate still voted to confirm Judge Brett M. Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. Even with the rhetorical wrist slitting. Can you believe it? I can, because remember, Republicans don't care what you think anymore. With the exception of Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, all the women in the Republican conference caved, including Senator Collins of Maine, who held out until the bitter end. Don't you love that language? They caved in. See, people on the Republican side would say it was caving. It would be caving if she voted no, considering all the death threats and protesters being dragged out and constant harassment and vilification in the media. That would be caving, wouldn't it?
That's right. Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And just for, argument's sake, so people understand, that I'm not messing around, I'm pretty sure I'm right when I say conservatives have felt like this for 242 years, not 20. The 20 years actually determines the fact that from the left is actually saying that for the last 20 years, they've actually gone away from defending and supporting the Constitution. So if you understand how the rhetoric game works, they're exposing the fact that they're the ones that moved off the Constitution. We're the ones that have stayed the same, tried and true for 242 years.
Listen to this, James. This is the same article. Speaking about the Republican women who caved and voted for Judge Kavanaugh, quote, these women are gender traitors. To borrow a term from the dystopian TV series The Handmaid's Tale, they've made standing by the patriarchy a full-time job. See, more women getting employment. It's good to see. Well done, Donald Trump. Another win. The women who support them show up at the Capitol wearing Women for Kavanaugh T-shirts, but also probably telling their daughters to put on less revealing clothes when they go out. That was the left-wing mayors in Europe who were saying, oh, if you don't want to get raped by the incoming tolerant new arrivals, make sure you don't reveal too much of your skin. Remember that? After the Cologne sex attacks in Germany? That was the left. That's what they say in Sweden. Don't wear revealing clothes.
The left were literally victim shaming. Literally. Blaming the victim for being raped.
Yep. These are the kind of women who think that falsely being accused of rape is almost as bad as being rape. The kind of women who agree with President Trump that it's, quote, a very scary time for young men in America, which he said during a news conference on Tuesday. But the people who scare me the most are the mothers, sisters, and wives of those young men, because my stupid uterus still holds out some insane hope of solidarity. Yes, your uterus is stupid, but you should continue thinking with that because obviously your brain is not present, young lady. Well done. What a fantastic article.
I gotta say, this is hilarious, and this is why I gotta say this, is that we have some trolls in the house, and they just said something that just made me say, "Hey, moron! You realize every single word that has been read, written, said tonight comes from left-wing sources. Every word, not a single article comes from even a centrist publication. Every word comes from the far left. It's all from the papers you read at home." Well, let's just run through the list real quick of all the articles we've read tonight. Like these people are insane, and I'm loving it. Like they can't even understand this is their rhetoric.
HuffPost. Melania Trump's colonialist outfit during Africa trip has Twitter users gagging. Vox.com. Republicans don't care what you think. Again, the most honest headline they've ever written over at Vox. Slate. How liberals could declare war on Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court. Politico. Democrats fear they're the wet rag party. Slate. The Supreme Court is now a partisan institution, James. The Washington Post. Bitter partisan battle wounded Kavanaugh and the Supreme Court he's joined. The Guardian. I feel outraged, exhausted and betrayed. Kavanaugh nomination. The feminist response. I'm lying by citing direct quotes from feminists in The Guardian. This really is the post-truth era, right? The New York Times. White women, come get your people. Salon. Did Democrats do enough to stop Kavanaugh? Not even close. Yes, Democrats are preferable to this, but they're still spineless and they melted before Kavanaugh's white rage, James. And one more on the New York Times. On the left, eyeing more radical ways to fight Kavanaugh. See, because when conservatives come out and say the left is going to get more radical after this Kavanaugh nomination, people on the left will say, stop reading Breitbart. You watch too much Fox News. Actually, I just read the New York Times. There it is. Eyeing more radical ways to fight Kavanaugh. So thanks for joining us. It's always a pleasure to go back over our references for the evening show, don't you think? Just to hit it home.
I love it. This is why this show is popular, because we can explain what the left is doing using their tactics, their rhetoric, and all of their own words against them to just expose the truth. That's all we're doing. We're literally just exposing the truth. We're not trying to sway opinions at all, because we don't care. Remember, we just read an article. Republicans don't give a shit what you think.
How about this one? One more using the left's own words, James, and this might take us out. Let's hit this.
When I say Kavanaugh, you say no. Kavanaugh. When I say Kavanaugh, you say no. Kavanaugh.
First time ever anywhere.
When I say Kavanaugh, you say no. Kavanaugh.
The United States of America. Donald.
When I say Kavanaugh, you say
There you have it.
Oh, dude.
Sensational.
What a sensational show tonight. I love it.
Can we draw a line under Kavanaugh now? Can we put it to bed? Is it over? Is it done? Can we move on and look forward?
Let's hope that the left lets us. Because we're stuck. Because see, this is what makes our job really hard, right? We, like I just highlighted, we only use left-wing publications. So when they only want to talk about one subject, we're stuck. We have to talk about it. So I hope that I hope they start talking about conservative racist pumpkins next week. And then we could actually move on to some hard-biting news. But thanks for joining us. We love you guys on Periscope, YouTube, Stream Me. You are the real rock stars. If you want to join us in our private chat room, reach out to anybody that hangs out and follows us all the time. You can reach out to my sister Karen. You can reach out to Meg, Janet, SoCal Patriot. You can reach out to Kimmy Jong-un, the most terrible dictator moderator that literally blocks no one. If you want to follow him, you can follow him at Boogie Bumper. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at Real Person PLTCS. And you can always find everybody you want to enjoy, you want to watch at TAVshow.com. Thanks for joining us, folks. With that, we're going to go out with dancing a little bit. Aw, freak out.
Freak out.